What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Morello Show. This is episode number 6. My name is Kyle Morello. I don't know what I'm going to do when I run out of single digits and I have to go like 15 or 15. Like, I don't
Well,
know what
you
I'm
got
going
to
to do.
have some props that you can use to
I might have to at
to
some
use
point.
for like fingers and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going to work on that. But anyway, I am Kyle Morello, your host, as always. With me today, my coworker, my friend, Kellen Voss. Kellen, how are we doing?
I'm doing well, Kyle. I appreciate you having me on. I've caught a couple of your podcasts. I really like the one you did. I forget her name, but the one about
Brooklyn.
yeah. I
Brooklyn.
thought she was
Yeah.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah, she's phenomenal. She's one of my good friends, an extremely good talent. She's gonna go many places. So yeah, that was a good one
Heck
for
yeah.
sure. Appreciate you tuning in though, as always.
Yeah, of course,
Um,
of course.
Today though, we've got an NFL draft special here on the Morello Show. We're gonna take the next half an hour or so, and we're gonna talk NFL draft. It is on next Thursday, not this coming Thursday, but next Thursday, the 29th. So we're getting there. We're
Yeah.
very close. I guess first thing is, what are you most excited about to see? What are we thinking here?
The drama with the quarterbacks at the top has been really interesting. I hate all this stuff that's been going around bashing Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields has the potential to be the best quarterback prospect in this draft. That's my hot take. And I think that he's just unfairly. There's always one quarterback every year, and unfortunately, it sometimes tends to be the black quarterback that falls down draft boards just for insane reasons that talking heads leak and stuff. And I'm excited to see. I feel like there's a trade up coming in between where your team picks and where my team picks, the Detroit Lions. So I'm excited to see what that trade's going to be. Yeah.
You think for a quarterback?
Yeah, I think most likely for a quarterback. Although there is one, we'll get to him later, but there is one skill guy I could see teams trading up for.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting for the quarterbacks because obviously we know Jacksonville's going to take Trevor Lawrence, probably the most highly touted prospect either since Andrew Luck or since Peyton Manning. Like, he's one of the best prospects ever.
The other thing too is like we've been hearing about him for like 4 or 5. Like he was a guy, like he was the top guy in high school. He's been Clemson's top guy. He's been in a bunch of big games.
Yep.
Like it seems like the surest of sure things that he's gonna at least be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yes, and even he had early enroll in Clemson, like after half of his senior year. Like he's been there for a while, and now he's finally, with draft ready. People were trying to tank for Lawrence for the entire year. Obviously, my team was one of them. I got the Testaverde jersey on. Can't wear my Darnold. That is no longer usable. But that's okay.
Probably not.
No,
I mean you could transform that into like an old rag and start like washing stuff on your kitchen with it, maybe.
That or Goodwill, one of the two. But yeah, so my Jets pick 2, obviously, and it's not a completely done deal, but I do think everybody thinks we're going to take Zach Wilson. I'm one of those people, and we'll get to that later. Very excited about that, though. I love Zach Wilson. But and then the Niners traded up for number 3, and they're presumed to take a quarterback. Do you think, which quarterback do you think they'll take? I personally think it's going to be Fields, but there's a Mac Jones, there's a Trey Lance.
It seems like it's going to be Fields now, just based off what everybody's hearing. Initially, everybody thought it was going to be Mac Jones, which I don't understand at all. Like like what we saw at Tua last year, where Tua kind of struggled right away, and everybody said, "Oh, maybe he's not this great college quarterback everybody thought he was." Because he had all the weapons at Alabama, and then he went to a Miami team that's still talented but doesn't have the quality of weapons that Alabama did. Mac Jones was just like, I don't know, he's just milquetoast average, and it's like, why would a team trade up to take a guy like that? All the comparisons I've heard, every draft thing I've read about him is, oh, he's going to be a great game manager. You don't trade up the number 3 overall pick in the draft to get a great game manager. You pick him up in the 3rd or 4th round and say, maybe this guy will be our backup, a starter in an emergency situation. So I don't understand that hype at all. I think it's probably either going to be Fields or Lance at this point. I lean towards Fields with you. Yeah.
I think so too. I think, well, like you said before, I think Fields does have the potential to be an all-pro quarterback. Like, I think he's got that talent. And I do think he's unfortunately been knocked down by talking heads because of the Ohio State trend. They don't always produce great quarterbacks. The same thing kind of happened with Dwayne Haskins, and look how that turned out, unfortunately.
Well, the most ridiculous narrative was that he doesn't look past his first read, which Ben Solak who's actually ironically a senior editor at the Draft Network, even though he's only like 4 or 5 years older than us, went through all the tape, and like he actually goes to his 2nd, 3rd read the most out of any quarterback in this draft.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback.
He's a really good quarterback. he's got the size. He can run. He's been in a lot of big moments. I know we were both watching the Ohio State Clemson game when he took that hit.
Yes.
And to see him still want to come into the game and still want to play in that game, even though he had that, like the draft stock was sitting there and everything like that. I think that moments like that prove that he can be a foundational piece for a team.
And may I remind you, in that game or before that game, people were saying, oh, like maybe Justin Fields like doesn't love football either. Like maybe he's not like doesn't have his heart into it. And he takes that hit. He got rocked by a Clemson player. He got rocked. I would be in the hospital if that was me. And he came back and he won against Clemson and Trevor Lawrence. Like that was insane.
Yeah, exactly. I think the guy's going to be a foundational pro, and I wouldn't be sad if the Lions took him at 7. I really wouldn't.
No, I do think he can fall to 7 because there's a lot of talent at the top of the draft. Like we don't know where Mac Jones is going to go. We don't know where Trey Lance is going to go. And then after those, you got Sewell, you got Devontae Smith, you got Jamar Chase, you got, I mean, and then when you're at 7 and you don't know who's going to be there. But we can actually get into the Lions too. Obviously, that's your favorite team. You are from Michigan. You're from Michigan. That is Michigan's team.
I unfortunately was born into it. I watched them with my dad and my grandpa growing up, so I'm used to the mediocrity, just like you are as a Jets fan.
I was born into literally it's a funny story. So when the Jets had Brett Favre in 2008, we started off 8-3. We had beat the previously undefeated Titans. I forget exactly what week it was, but they were like 9-10-0, something like that. And then flooded down the stretch. We were still 9-5 though, and then we went 9-7, lost to the Dolphins week 17, missed the playoffs. I remember that week 17 game against the Dolphins. After it, we lost by a touchdown. My dad turns to me and my brother. He goes, guys, I'm sorry for making you Jets fans, for the pain that you've had to endure. I was 9. Actually, no, I wasn't even. I was still 8. Like, it's insane. So I feel you on the Lions.
I got. While we're on that topic, the 2014 wild card game with the Lions against the Cowboys. There was the controversial no call of Pettigrew with pass interference. I remember when Golden Tate scored. It might have been his second touchdown of the game, but he scored to make it 14-0. And my dad turned to me and my brothers and said, "Remember this moment, because this might be as good as it gets for a while." And I was like, that's depressing to think about. And now that's actually the truth. So I mean, I like to think that you and I love sports more than the average fan who sees winning more often, just because we keep seeing these losses, and yet we're still stuck into it.
Yes. So. We're loyal fans. Yeah. I mean, I think both Detroit fans and New York fans, and I guess even Cleveland fans too, that we're all in the same realm.
Yeah, totally.
Dealing with extremely mediocre franchise. It's not even just like it's awful losing. I mean, obviously we both have had our fair share of that, but the mediocrity is just please let our teams be good soon. Please. But anyway, so the Lions at 7. I know you guys probably might want to take a quarterback, even though you just traded for Jared Goff, obviously, and he's got the big contract. Is there one guy you're looking at specifically that like if you draft him, you will be a happy camper?
So there's actually 3 guys that I would be okay with at that. Well, that would be home run picks, in my opinion, at that 7th spot. So if you look at the draft board, it's pretty clear cut that Lawrence is going 1, Wilson's going 2, and then the Niners are going to draft either Fields or Jones or Lance with that 3rd spot.
Right.
What I'm hoping is that a team trades up to either 4, 5, or 6 and takes another quarterback, because that leaves the Lions to take either one of Penei Sewell from Oregon, who's seems like a foundational piece of tackle and might be the surest thing in this entire draft.
And he's been working out at right tackle too, and he's
exactly.
So he's doing both.
Yeah. Jamar Chase out of LSU, who's definitely the best receiver out of this class in terms of the wide receiver position, and Kyle Pitts, who you lock him up with, you get him and Hawkinson with the Lions, you're set at the tight end position for the next decade. If any 3 of those guys are available at 7, I think the Lions would be idiots not to take them. And then the one guy who I would not be too keen about taking unless we traded back to take him is Micah Parsons, just because
he can rush the passer like the best of them.
He can rush the passer really well. And Kyle Meinke, who does the beat for MLive for the Detroit Lions, actually had a lot of great stats about this. The Lions actually had their worst statistical defensive season this past year which it was worse than even the 0-16 season.
Wow.
So like the defense was incredibly bad. And yet with Parsons, and so like I've seen a lot of guys make that point and take Parsons. But my issue is when you Google Parsons' name, the first thing that shows up is Micah Parsons' character. And there's a couple of incidents that have happened at Penn State. And, you know, with a pick that high up, I don't want any question marks with the guy, especially behavior-wise. It looks like the reports are saying, hey, let me pull this up. The reports were saying that he was accused of choking a teammate in a locker room fight and was involved in hazing with another young teammate. So, you know, that's concerning. That's definitely concerning. And, you know, with if you take them at 7, the Lions, it's not a secret. The Lions aren't going to be good the next few years. If Parsons gets frustrated with that, you know, with a team that doesn't have a ton of veteran leadership, it could just spiral into a thing. So I would not. Parsons is the guy I want to stay away from completely.
Which is interesting because you mentioned those defensive stats, but Parsons is also arguably, I don't know if he's for sure, but arguably the best defensive player in the draft. But, you know, if he does have character issues, that's not something you want on your football team, especially in a losing culture that unfortunately the Lions have right now.
Well, the Lions are trying to still build up a culture. So, I mean, if Parsons were going to go to an established team like the Patriots or the Ravens or something, like I could see him like doing great things, but I don't think he's going to max out his full potential on the Lions. So
no, I don't. I do agree with you that, and the character issues is something that I also missed too. So I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't actually know that. So
no, that's the thing is like it was kind of like
I feel like it's been swept under the rug.
Pushed under the rug. Yeah, it happened 3 years ago. I know James Franklin took a lot more of the flack for it just because he was the coach of that situation and tried to cover it up. But it's also like you can be a good linebacker in the NFL and not like choke people in the locker room. You know,
yes.
Like you don't need to have that like aggressiveness mentality everything in your life.
100%.
I've actually seen a couple of guys who have made the insane point that like the choking thing is actually a benefit because of like how aggressive he is, which is like defending assault.
Some people need to stop.
Always seems like a bad decision. Yeah, exactly.
Some people need to stop talking on Twitter. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Here's a question for you though. I have a question for you. So you mentioned the Lions defense. Obviously, Okudah last year missed a lot of time this year for injury. Could you see the Lions either trading down for this or even drafting it at 7, going back-to-back corner, maybe picking Surtain in the first round?
I wouldn't hate it. I don't, you know, I think that there's the issue with the Lions defense. There's a lot of issues with Lions defense, but it's basically like they don't have like go-to signature. I know this guy's going to get me a tackle for a loss and a sack a game. They don't have that guy. So I would prioritize front 7 personally, but I wouldn't be upset if you trade back and get a corner like that in a later pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the corner talent this year isn't like there's no Okudahs in this draft where he's a top 3 talent. No, Surtain's very good. He was the best corner in college football last year. Easily.
Yeah, easily.
There's 2 or 3 guys that will probably go in the first round for cornerback, but I don't. For instance, one of the guys is Caleb Farley, and from Virginia Tech. I would love it if the Jets picked him at 23. I think he's a great cornerback. He's pretty fast. Missed some time a little bit in Virginia Tech. Definitely don't want to mix those two up. I'll get crucified for that in Virginia. One of my good friends, he went to Virginia for a year. His dad went to UVA. Definitely don't want them mixing up the Hokies and the Cavs there.
No.
But I think Caleb Farley's a great quarterback. That's somebody I would love the Jets to take at 23. It's going to be really weird what they're going to do with that 23rd pick, though. There's a lot of avenues they can go.
Going back to 2 here, switch gears a little bit.
We can go to the other one, yeah.
So Chris Sims is a pretty respected draft analyst when it comes to ranking quarterbacks, and he's had a pretty good track record. He had Lamar Jackson as his number one guy in 2018, you know, and he has Zach Wilson actually ahead of Trevor Lawrence in this year's draft. Now, I did hear that. Is that I want to see if I can get clicks with my thing, or is that a legitimate case for you?
I do think it is. I don't know if it's like extremely legitimate. Like I wouldn't put Zach Wilson over Trevor Lawrence at this point. There's obviously a lot unproven. He went to BYU instead of, one of the best schools, obviously Lawrence went to Clemson. He won a championship. He was in another one. He was in the college football playoff 3 times. Wilson only started for, a couple years, and he struggled a little bit when he was younger. Obviously, last year was great. I do think he has the tools, though, to be great. Like, when I watched him on his pro day, when I've seen clips of him at BYU, like, and this might be a little bit of a lazy comparison because I've seen it, on Twitter and stuff too. He does kind of have look like he's throwing motion of Patrick Mahomes a little bit. Not exactly, obviously. But he looks like he has that gunslinger kind of motion and mentality even too when he's playing. And he's athletic. I mean, he's only 6'2". He's not a huge guy. And people were surprised he was even measured at 6'2" at his pro day. Mm-hmm. But I do think he has the tools to be a great quarterback, because it's crazy because coming into draft season, in December, after bowl season, everything stopped. A lot of people were especially after the college football playoff game, were saying Justin Fields locked to go 2. And at that point, I was thinking the same thing. I thought Justin Fields was going to go 2. I thought all year he was going to be the second best quarterback. And I do think he'll go top 10 easy, no question. But Zach Wilson's shown a lot. And you look at the tape, I do think he's going to be a great quarterback.
As a Jets fan, do you put any merit into the fact that Wilson wasn't a captain when he was at BYU?
No, and I've gotten this question a few times.
Okay.
I've had some of my friends compare it to the Bo Callahan situation in the Draft Day movie. I don't know if you've seen Draft Day with Kevin Costner. I don't think it's that. Well, first of all, he was a captain, I think. He did have a C on his jersey. I don't know if it was this year, maybe it was, in years past. But from what his teammates are saying, he seems like a great leader. He seems like a guy who's good in the locker room. I'm not that worried about that. They picked 8 captains. There's 4 on offense, 4 on defense at BYU. Not everybody is going to get it. And I understand he's senior quarterback. I understand, that's supposed to be the team leader. That's the main position on the team. But as long as he's a good guy and he's a good in the locker room, there's no reason why I should be concerned about that.
The thing I like about his draft tape is it seems like he does really well under duress. It seems like he does like the thing that Ryan Russillo touched on this on one of his podcasts the other day. But the thing that gets overhyped a lot in these draft process is mechanics and how they throw, when they get their first step planted and they can turn their hips, and it's an ideal situation. The thing about the NFL, and especially over the last few years that we've learned, is quarterbacks are never going to be throwing in an ideal situation. No. Unless you're working with the best offensive line in the world, you're always going to be under duress. You're always going to be looking behind your shoulder. You're always going to be scrambling out in the pocket.
You got to get the ball out quick.
To see Zach Wilson, under duress, you can say that, his mechanics, sure, they're not perfect. But it's you see a lot of tape where he's getting chased by defenders and he still makes a throw across his body across the field. That kind of stuff is translatable in any NFL offense.
Yes.
And so to see him, in that second spot, I was a little concerned with it at first with seeing Fields drop, but the more research I do, the more and more I like with Wilson there at 2 for you guys.
I do like Wilson a lot, like I was saying. And the one thing that does concern me though is coming out of college in 2018, Darnold kind of got the same or similar kind of, praises with his crossbody throws. His his mechanics were a little bit not great, but they're okay.
I remember that was Darnold the one that did the pro day in the rain?
Yes.
And everybody freaked out because it was oh, look how tough of a quarterback he is. He can throw in the rain.
Because going into that, all the concerns were he's played in SoCal his entire career so far. Is he going to be able to handle New York? Because obviously it was either going to be us or Cleveland, and both cold weather situations. And the Giants were too. So they didn't have a quarterback at the time either. So it was either going to be MetLife Stadium or in Cleveland. So both cold weather. Could he handle it? You know what I mean? And people watched him go in the rain. They were like, oh, he's good. Blah, blah, blah. And granted, he hasn't I don't think it's the cold weather that affected him. I just think it was first and foremost, I think it was Adam Gase. I think Adam Gase, I have not enough bad things to say about Adam Gase, and I don't have bad things to say about anybody. I despise Adam Gase as a head coach. He had an abrasive personality too. He was not good. I'm glad he's not the coach of the New York Jets anymore.
Adam Gase is the quintessential and we talked about this at work before. Adam Gase is the quintessential example of if you're adjacent to greatness, you can have a job in the NFL for 5-6 years.
Yeah, he rode Peyton Manning's coattail.
Exactly. He was there when Peyton Manning broke all the records with the Broncos and they made the Super Bowl runs. And all of a sudden he has a job the next 7 years just riding off of that. And now we've seen that he's tanked the Dolphins and tanked the Jets. And now the Dolphins are finally picking stuff back up. But I mean, you as a Jets
look
fan,
in the 2 years after he became the Jets head coach after he got fired by the Dolphins. They were projected to be the worst team in the league. They started off that way. Then they went 5-11.
Yeah.
And then they draft Tua, and they have a really good draft last year and a good free agency. And they go 10-6, and they almost make the playoffs. And they're going to be in a good position for a long time.
And they're one of the most fun teams in the NFL to watch now, too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And now you look at the Jets. Obviously, we haven't played yet, so we can't judge yet. But you bring in Robert Saleh, who everybody loves and respects. I thought he should have been a head coach for the last 2 years after he helped lead the Niners to the Super Bowl as a D coordinator. And we're hiring talent around him, like in the coaching positions. That is, we're bringing in talented free agents. Now people want to play for the Jets. Like you saw Carl Lawson sign here. You saw Sheldon Rankin sign here. You saw LaMarcus Joyner sign here. Like we've gotten some dudes. Like it's good. I think we can. I don't think we're going to be great next year. I think max will go 6-10 or 6-11 now because we have the 17th game.
That's so weird. My mind is like, I can't like comprehend that. It's so
weird. I don't agree with it. That's a discussion for another day. I think it might just lead to more injuries, but probably. I digress.
Yeah.
Adam Gase stunted Darnold's growth. And it's crazy because he's supposed to be the quarterback guru, the offensive coach. Right. And whereas Todd Bowles, who, I mean, he was hurt obviously a little bit in all 3 years, but especially in his rookie year, he still played well after he came back from injury though. Like he was good. And we had a false sense of security or a false sense of hope at the end of 2019 because we went 5-2 against a really bad schedule and we almost made the playoffs, even though we were 7-9. And Darnold, like, he played okay in that. He didn't play great. So you got someone like Robert Saleh. I was going to say LaFleur is the offensive coordinator next.
Right.
I literally every episode I have one instance where I just can't talk, and it's
it's okay. It happens to everybody. You just power through it.
You power through it. It's all good. Yeah. It's all good. Yeah. But I feel bad for Darnold, and I hope that Zach Wilson doesn't have to go through the same thing.
Correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it kind of felt like Darnold was like, we don't know exactly what Darnold, because it felt like Darnold was always in the worst possible situations.
Yes.
I'd watch him and like he'd always be under pressure and he'd never have anybody to throw to, and the Jets defense never helped him out. And I always like felt bad for the guy in a way because like I don't know if we're getting a fair evaluation of like what
I don't think we were. I don't think we were getting a fair evaluation. Granted, there are some things too that he never corrected. His turnovers never got better in the 3 years, which is one of the questions about him coming out of USC because he turned the ball over a lot, especially in his junior year before he entered the draft. He never corrected that. So that was something that was a big strike for me. But he also never had any help. He never had an offensive line, like you said. He never had weapons, literally outside of Jamison Crowder, like last year, especially. And Le'Veon Bell was like, that was the two best wide receivers we had in 2019. It was ridiculous. And Jamison Crowder's great, don't get me wrong, but he should not be.
The Jets have been the team the last 3-4 years where it's like you're kind of surprised if you see somebody in your fantasy football league like take one of their guys, like, oh, okay.
Well, outside of Jamison Crowder and I guess Le'Veon Bell before he got cut, obviously, there's nobody you would want on the Jets.
No.
And he was put in a really tough situation. So hopefully Zach Wilson is put in a better situation. It does appear that way so far. And I think he's got the talent. Like we were saying earlier. I really do.
You touched on this earlier, but what's the guy that you want to see the Jets pick up at the 23 spot?
Caleb Farley's the one for me. I really think we need cornerback help. I think cornerbacks are the key to have a great defense. If you have a shutdown corner, and I'm not saying Caleb Farley's a shutdown corner at this juncture. We don't know yet. He is a good cornerback. I will tell you that.
Okay.
But if you have good cornerbacks, then your pressure makes it easier to get to the quarterback for your offense.
Can I throw out a guy for you that I just know this guy just because I just know this guy because I'm a Michigan Wolverine fan here.
Obviously, yes.
Kwity Paye.
Okay.
Is legit. Kwity Paye is he's gonna be he's gonna be a guy. He's always gonna be able to rush the passer. He'll always be able to just pin his ears back and rush the passer.
Which is something else the Jets need too, because we haven't had a true pass rusher since John Abraham left. And
he's underrated. 2000s. He's underrated in the like in terms of like coverage out of the passing game. You pair him and then former Lion Jared Davis out in your two edge guys, and just have one of them always going towards the quarterback. It's not crazy.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think Kwity Paye would be a fun pick there at number 23.
I do think Kwity Paye or any other type of lineman or linebacker who can rush passer would be good. I really do think the Jets do need a pass rusher. The one thing I will say that is, though, we signed Carl Lawson, who's really good at rushing the passer. I'm excited to see what he is going to do. Sheldon Rankins isn't he's a D tackle, so he's obviously not. No pass rusher is a natural. No D tackle is a natural pass rusher outside of Aaron Donald. He's insane. He's a freak. There is no one else like him. So he's good in the run, though. And obviously Quentin Williams is good too. He's more of a hybrid of both. I think if we get a cornerback at 23, that will do more for the defense than if we get a rusher at 23, because like I was saying earlier, if we can just blanket the field and protect the secondary, the pass rushers will have more time to get to the quarterback. If we have pass coverage sacks, it doesn't change any different on the stat sheet. A sack's a sack. A loss is a loss. We get to the quarterback. That's all I care about. And I think having a quarterback will be really good, because our safeties aren't bad. Obviously, Marcus May is one of the better ones in the league.
He was an underrated guy. You told me about him, and I hadn't heard of him before. And I saw him in a couple of games. I was like, okay, this guy's something. He's something to build around.
The same draft we drafted Jamal Adams. We picked him in the second round. Paired them together for a few years. They were one of the best safety tandems in the league. He's still really, really good. Honestly, don't quote me on this, I do think he might have had a higher grade on the season than Jamal Adams did. Especially,
it wouldn't surprise me.
Jamal Adams stunk in coverage. He's a pass rusher. Let's just keep it real. And I'm a little salty because he requested a trade and he wanted to leave the Jets, so it's fine.
Well, I mean,
it's fine.
I mean, yeah.
But we also did sign LaMarcus Joyner, who had played cornerback the last few years. His natural position is safety, though. So he'll excel there. We also drafted Ashton Davis last year, who is an athlete. Like, he's a little bit raw still in the secondary, but he's really, really fast. And I do think he can be a piece for us in the future. Okay. So that's another thing. So we do have safeties, and we're starting to get our front seven core together. Obviously, you mentioned the Jared Davis signing coming over from your guys, the Lions. We'll see what happens with that. I know we didn't play a lot.
If he's your coming in on second and third downs and just rushing the passer, you're gonna have a good time, because that's the one thing that he was consistent in doing. When I
was watching tape on him after the Jets signed him, he was in the backfield a good amount.
He's in the backfield a good amount. He can't cover to save his life in the passing game. He's just flat out not fast enough. He got beat on the edge constantly. He's also good for about one penalty a game. He tends to tackle guys like he's in the WWE, where he'll just suplex guys onto the ground.
Oh, man.
So that could be something. But the thing is, man, Detroit was a terrible situation for him and what he was going to do. As a first round guy, I don't think it's fair to call him a bust quite yet, just because I want to see him.
It's only been a few years. Yeah.
But yeah, if you're just telling him to pin his ears back and rush the quarterback, he can do that. So I wouldn't want him. If he's your starting middle linebacker, you're in bad shape. But
the good thing is we'll have CJ Mosley back this year.
Yeah, exactly. So, as long as he's just your specialty, rush the passer guy, he's going to be fine.
Which I'm praying that Robert Saleh will understand that. He's obviously a great defensive mind.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll put him in the best position for him to succeed, which I do think will be the biggest difference between.
I know Lions fans are going to be kicking themselves when Davis just has a random 3-sack game, and you hear the quotes about how great Salah was, because we had a chance to hire him too. Yeah. And
we will see what happens. All right, getting to the end here. Who's one guy in the draft that you think could maybe shoot up draft boards that's not expected to? Maybe someone who you think might go in the top 10 that, a lot of people aren't talking about to do that, but could be a surprise? Who do you think?
I think we could see a team. It's not necessarily a surprise that he's going to go into the top 10, but I think we could see a team trade up for Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts the hype around Kyle Pitts has been spectacular. And if you watch the guy's tape, he's an NFL ready type. And
Yeah.
Bill Simmons made this case on his podcast last year. If he's 80% of what Travis Kelce is for the Chiefs, that's a guy that you can always count on third down and be open. That's a guy that you can always count on to make a few big plays a game. His blocking needs a little bit of work, but tight end position is a tough position to find in the NFL.
But so crucial to team success.
But it's very crucial to your success. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a team making calls to Atlanta and they're actually at number 4 and they're actually calling about Kyle Pitts.
I wouldn't doubt it either.
In terms of guys that are going, under the radar, I think Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern is a really good tackle. And I think that
yes,
he's not Penei Sewell. So a lot of people see in Sewell as the quintessential piece and rank Slater like 2-3 notches below. I think it's a way closer comparison when it comes to the two tackle spots.
Well, here's my thing with Slater. Like, first of all, if he were to drop to 23, take him in a heartbeat. I think he's that 100%. Good. Like
100%.
And I don't think he will, but if he did. But besides that, I think the one thing he has over Sewell is that he's more versatile. I think he can play more positions on the offensive line than Sewell can. Obviously, Sewell, the report came out, he's training for right tackle too, which is huge for him and will help out. Well, he's going to go top 5 easily. Like with that, like the teams are going to want that flexibility. But I do think the one thing is Slater is probably a little more athletic, probably can play a little more positions, which is good.
And if I'm, what team in the NFL couldn't use another tackle? Like it's a position that every team needs every single year, and I think that guy's going to be a foundational piece. I honestly wouldn't be pissed if the Lions took him at 7. If Sewell's off the board and Lions took him at 7, I would be fine with that. And then you look at the Lions depth chart. The Lions, surprisingly, offensive line is probably the one thing that they're like a strength in.
Yeah, I would say so.
Ragnow just earned his first All-Pro spot last year, and he kind of should have been an All-Pro the year before that too. Jonah Jackson had a great rookie season. Hal Vaitai, way overpaid for him, but he's okay at right guard. Taylor Decker has been improving. So you add either Slater or Sewell to that offensive line, and you build with this Dan Campbell biting off the kneecaps, run the ball through the ground, and just hope that DeAndre Swift stays healthy. That's something for the Lions. So
yes, DeAndre Swift, Philly guy, by the way.
Philly guy.
My friend, one of my best friends, Bobby Dupel, is pretty good friends with the Swift family.
Whenever you see like the NFL commercials where they try to get as many teams as possible in there, DeAndre Swift is the reason why the Lions are in there. It's the same few highlights that he had against the Jaguars where he broke off a few runs, but like he's going to be the reason to watch Lions games.
Swift is the reason why my high school did not win a state championship my senior year.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yes.
He ran for about 350 yards and 4 touchdowns in the state semifinal. We lost by 10. Our quarterback got the ball punched out in like the final drive of the game. There's like 3 minutes left. We were driving down 3, and then he broke off like a 50-yard run and then scored the next play. So
the guy's just insane.
He went to Georgia. He was great.
Yeah.
He was a second-round pick in the NFL draft. Honestly, I thought he should have gone over Clyde.
Yeah.
Although I'm not mad at the Chiefs for taking Clyde.
No, me neither. Me neither. Before we get out of here, can I float a couple? Are you a big draft props guy? Because I have a couple of draft props that I really like.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I have a couple of draft spots I really like. And Warren Sharp went on Bill Simmons' podcast and made a good case for a couple of these. But more offensive players to be taken than defensive players in the first round is sitting right around at like minus 120. I think that's a lock. You're going to get teams trading up for the quarterbacks.
You're going to have 4 quarterbacks and 4 wide receivers easy.
You could see 6 quarterbacks going. I wouldn't put it past one team to fall in love with Kellen Mond. And
that's a good point.
Like you could see 6 quarterbacks there. We just talked about the 2 offensive linemen. There's a ton of receivers with Chase and Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle. That's if
someone wants to draft
6, 2, 3, that's 11 offensive players right there.
Yeah.
Throw in Pitts, throw in a couple, running backs that are going to low late in the round. I feel like that's a lock of a pick. And then the other one I like too is Pitts to go. It's weird how they do it because it's Pitts 5.5. But if it's the under, then you think that you're betting on Pitts to be a top 5 pick, which I think is going to happen. The hype train is just driving way too fast for Pitts. And unless he like kills somebody in the next week and a half, I think he's going to be a top 10 pick for sure and probably a top 5.
The only reason I would say he wouldn't go top 5 is if there's 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 4, and then Sewell goes 5 to the Bengals, which makes so much sense and absolutely should happen.
Although if you're the Bengals and you can give Joe Burrow another reliable weapon right there in that spot, you got to have the conversation.
If Sewell's gone and they don't want to get the offensive lineman out of Northwestern, whose name I'm completely blanking on right now.
Slater.
We literally just talked about him.
You're good. You're good.
Jamar Chase would be a great option for Joe Burrow to throw the ball to. Like T. Higgins came around last year, and I thought he was great too. But if you gave him Jamar Chase, first of all, was his college teammate. Like they got chemistry. That would be something to see. But I do think the smart play would be Sewell. You saw what happened to Burrow last year. So hopefully he recovers from that.
Hopefully.
That looked really, really bad. And he was on it was gonna be him and Herbert for rookie of the year. So that was unfortunate to see. But we will see. It's going to be a really, really fun draft.
It's going to be a good draft. And I'm excited to see how the narratives continue to play out over the next week and a half here.
I think the draft starts at 4, like we were mentioning earlier, with 3 quarterbacks going in the top 3, and then we'll see what happens at 4 with the Falcons.
Are you buying the Zach Wilson jersey?
I'm buying the Zach Wilson jersey. I might not even customize that. I might wait till like July or August to get that. But if I bought the Darnold jersey last year, I'm gonna need the replacement, and that's
fair. That's fair.
Yeah, we will see what happens. Obviously, this is the old one. We're gonna have to get a new one. It has to be the black one. That's the one I got from Darnold last year. I think one of the better jerseys in the football. I don't think the other Jets jerseys are. I wouldn't be surprised if they did it.
Black ones are nice. I like the black ones.
Yeah,
it gives off the vibes of the old Eagles jerseys a little bit, but I like the black ones a lot. Yeah.
Yes. So we will see what happens with that, but it is going to be fun, and it's been fun talking to you about it as well.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
appreciate it very much.
You know, I love keep doing your thing here with the Morello show. I'd love to come back on to talk some draft stuff or maybe some NBA playoff stuff as it comes along the pipe. And I know you got some days off here for work, so I hope you enjoy those.
Yes, I do have a birthday coming up tomorrow.
Yes, happy early birthday for Wednesday.
Thank you.
Happy early birthday.
Yes. Year 22 will be a good one, so I'm excited for that. Knock on wood, of course.
Of course.
And then we have a Cubs Mets game coming up too.
Oh, that's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So excited. We might get DeGrom. We might get to watch DeGrom. That would be great.
Yeah,
that would be really.
It's gonna be fun. But yeah, Kellen, thank you for coming on. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, I appreciate the love and support that everybody's given me so far. Does not go unnoticed at all. Next week, Nicky Ra, my good friend, the artist, is coming on the show. He's got an album coming out, so we're gonna talk to him about that. If you haven't heard of Nicky Ra, Kellen, you might want to start.
All right. I'll do some research.
He's going to the top.
I'll do some research.
NICKY space RA. Yes.
Okay.
One of my best friends. That's going to be a phenomenal conversation next week. So make sure you guys tune into that. Stay posted on the socials. Obviously, I got them and the graphics here, but at Morello Show, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more beer reviews, more sauce reviews. I'm trying to figure this out. I'm doing a lot here, but
you know what? You're killing it, man. You're killing it, man. When it comes to guys our age, it's all about creating content, getting your name out there, and I think you're doing a spectacular job of doing all that. So.
I appreciate that, Kellen, as always. I don't know why I can't speak English right now either, but it's fine.
We just got through 30 minutes here. You know, you're racking your brain. It's fine. You're all good. I'm
thinking about football. It's on my mind. So, yeah. All right. Well, appreciate it as always. See y'all next week.
Peace out.